Okay, so this is Mrs. Heisenbuttle, and today I'm going to show you a little bit about drawing on grid paper to show isometric relationships. So as you can see, I have a cube here that's just made out of simple math blocks. And so I'm going to use that to draw in isometric. So what I'm going to do is start on a line as if it were two-point perspective. So in this case, because I want to make it slightly bigger on the paper, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark a starting spot, and I'm going to make each one of these blocks 2 blocks on the paper. So that's going to be 4 blocks high, so 2, 4. And then I'm going to go back the same number of blocks, but notice to do that at the perfect angle, I'm going to have to go right through the center of these rectangles to make perfect triangles. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then I do exactly the same thing on the other side. I'm going to line up my ruler here, and this is, I find it practically impossible to do on regular grid paper without a ruler. So there you go. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4. It's gone back. You're going to say, okay, that doesn't look right. You're right, it looks stretched. So you see how actually what I should be doing is making that smaller. But that's okay. For this purpose, we're just going to count up the same way we've been doing, just so you can kind of see it. It's a little bit bigger. But you'll see that when I'm done, it's going to look stretched, which is okay for this. So I'm going to go up 4 there and up 4 there. And you're going to say, why 4? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I stop there and I stop there. And I drew that one a little off so you could see it better, because I'm making 2 blocks for each one of those. So in this case, I would then connect my front and my back, and it should make, if I've done it correctly, pretty perfect triangle pieces. So as you can see, it does give you a slightly off skewed view, but that's what isometric will get you. So there's 2, 4, up to there. And so in this case, it's got to go back. So I've done this part here, but now it has to go back too. So I'm going to line this up from here. Is that right? Nope. Hold on. Yeah, you have to make sure you're going the correct number of triangles back. So see how now it's starting to look a little more reasonably like a cube. So there we go. And so now this is my exact center point, which is right there. And so it should be now a perfect cube. So I can represent that on graph paper. I can also do this exact same thing on isometric paper a little easier. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the exact same thing, but with isometric paper instead of with a quad grid, which is what I had here. So in this case, I need a straight line, and again, I'm going to start with this corner right here. So it's going to be 4 triangles, or triangle bottoms up, because that's my very first line. And then I'm going to attach, and see the lines are already here. So I just have to go back 1, 2, 3, 4. And same thing over here. I'm not measuring anything. I'm just using my ruler as a way to draw a straight line in this case. So there's 4. And then I'm going to go up straight 4 again. So there's 2, there's 4. See how much easier this is when the paper already has those diagonal lines on it for you, which does make it really nice. And so I can just attach along those diagonal lines to there, which should go to there. And then obviously I can come back here. This should be up to about there. So let's go back 3, 4. And same thing here, from here to there, which gives me my center point right there. And so as you can see, it's slightly skewed, whereas this one looked more realistic. This one looks slightly skewed, but notice it took me a lot less time to do because it was a lot easier. Now, there's one other thing you can do for drawing an isometric, and that is to use isometric dot paper. And so in this case, I'm going to, because the scale is slightly different for the dot paper, I'm just going to connect 4 dots, just like that. And then notice if I line my ruler up, I can connect 1, 2, 3, 4 dots there. And a perfect 1, 2, 3, 4 dots there. So you can see, and that's going to be 4 up. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And now you can probably see what we're doing. It's exactly the same thing we did before, but on the dot paper, your lines are much more obvious, which makes it a little bit easier sometimes to see what your plan is, especially if you have a more complicated drawing or isometric sketch. So there's, whoops, 1, 2, 3, and 4, which puts us back here. Same thing. And there is my center point again. So as you can see, this cube done in 3 ways, the dot paper, on the isometric grid, and on regular quad paper grid. So depending on how big your grid is, it will be either easier or harder to draw isometric. I find the dot paper to be the easiest, but that's me. You can use any of those to do an isometric drawing.